Alright, so this Knife Thoughts video is going to be on this knife, and this is the American Blade Works EDC Keychain knife, and this knife was sent to me along with the American Blade Works Model 1 V3, which I have a full review of on my channel already. Link will be in the description for that there, by Michael Martin of American Blade Works. I actually initially became aware of them through Instagram, and I followed them, and they sent these knives along for feedback and review. So I really appreciate that, and you can find these knives and the EDC keychain knife at AmericanBladeWorks.com. So let's take a look at the knife. So this is a knife that falls into a category that I think is kind of an interesting category of knives. It's a really small utility knife that you can carry on your keys, and is kind of out the front is how the action works. And I am planning to do a video comparing a couple different knives that fit within that category, but this video is just going to be a quicker video on this knife. So first off, as you can see, it has the really nice minimalist American Blade Works logo on the front scale or handle slab, and I like that logo. It's nice and simple, but gets the job done, and it is machined in there. It's not just etched. And then the other side is plain, and this version, or this one that I have, is the stainless steel version. They do also have a brass version, which I know a lot of people, especially if you're putting together a minimalist or small EDC carry, a lot of people like to have brass and match their brass EDC items, so that might be a good option if you're into that. And I think both look good. The stainless steel feels pretty substantial. It doesn't feel like light in the way that makes something feel like toyish, I guess. It feels like a knife. It's not dainty feeling, even for the size. Now, this knife can be taken apart really easily with the two screws, and those are not torque screws actually, they're hex screws. So most people have hex screws, even if you don't have a torque screw set specifically for knives. And you take it apart, it's really easy to replace the blades. And there's the blade. So it's an X-Acto number 10 blade, which is interesting because it's different than the other knife that I'm going to show in the comparison video. But I haven't tried other blade shapes on this, but I believe really any of this size X-Acto blade will work in this. So if you do want those straight edge or the horizontal, or not horizontal, diagonal edge, X-Acto blades where it comes straight out, or they do have them where it's horizontal towards the spine. Either way, you should be able to fit those in as long as it's the same size as the number 10. There are bigger ones that won't fit in. So I think that's a cool feature that it has. It comes with this blade because this is, it almost looks like a mini normal EDC knife, like the, Model 1 with its kind of drop point style blade. This has kind of a straight spine, but it's a nice little blade shape and relatively good blade length. I mean, it's not a long blade obviously, but it's long enough that you can cut tape, cut open envelopes, even cut some cardboard. You don't need to have a super long blade to cut cardboard. And as you've noticed, this knife retracts automatically with a spring. So it's a nice little feature, because one of the things with a knife like this, you throw it on your keychain, you don't think about it till you need it, and then you want to be able to open it with one hand, use it, and then not worry about having to put it back into the handle, put the blade back into the handle. You want to be able to just put your keys back on your belt or in your pocket and not worry about it cutting you. So I think that this really snappy spring retract is nice. It also makes it kind of fidgetable. So something that a lot of people like is that factor of you can sit and flick your knife open and close, and you can definitely do that with this. You just, instead of, really the action is on the close instead of on the open, so you push it open and let it pull closed, and it's kind of fun. Definitely has a lot of spring to it, so I like that, and I think that it's a nice feature that it is such a secure retract. As for using this knife, I have used it a good bit. I carried it for a while I was carrying the Model 1 for review. And a couple things. First of all, I'm not always a huge fan of jimping. I think most of the time it doesn't do too much. But on a knife like this where it's a pretty smooth handle overall, I do like this little bit of machine jimping on the bottom. I think that it kind of does give you a little bit of traction. And same deal with the jimping, or the ridges, I guess, on that tab that you extend the blade with. I think it gives you some traction. So I like that. The shape of the handle, or the shape of the knife itself, is nice. You can see that I get a 2-finger grip on it, and can push my thumb forward, and you can hold on to it pretty well. I mean, it's a tiny little knife. I'll show you a comparison to a couple other keychain knives that I have here. This is the Leatherman Squirt. So you can see it's slightly longer than the Squirt, but not by much. Here is the Micro Recon 1, and here is a CRKT, which is the PEC. So there's a couple other keychain knives to compare to. Don't have my Spyderco Ladybug on me, but it's a small knife, but because of this nice kind of curved handle shape, you do still get a good grip on it. As for using it, pushing this out and holding it, I find that it's pretty easy to hold it with your thumb. Now sometimes for those fine cuts, I like to use my index finger on the top like this. It is a little bit more difficult to get that out with your index finger, just because of how the grip works. So what I found is you can kind of two-handedly push it out and then pinch it, but it is a little bit more difficult to use with that pinch grip. So I pretty much defaulted to using this this style of pinch grip over this style of pinch grip. This you might call like a pen grip, or I don't exactly know what that kind of grip is called, but because it's easier to push this out with your thumb, I did pretty much always use it in this style of pinch grip. But I found, like I said, that it worked well for kind of what we really, when we're being honest, use our knives for most often: cutting, open packages, cutting envelopes, or opening envelopes, cutting small things, in cutting cardboard. It works well for all of that. These X-Acto blades are really thin, they come sharp, and they cut well, and you can get a lot of them for not too much money. So that way, if you use this knife to cut a bunch of cardboard, you just open it up, replace the blade, and you're good to go. So I think it's a handy little knife, and I think it's made really well. Like I said, I will be doing a comparison between this and a couple other knives in this category. So if you're interested in this type of knife, check that out. But I think this is a cool little knife if you want a really small, easy to carry EDC keychain knife from American Blade Works. So I really appreciate them sending it along. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell for notifications so you see when I post new videos. Go ahead and check out that video on the American Blade Works Model 1 that I have up. Check out my social media, all at Knife Thoughts, my website, knifethoughts.com, and as always, don't forget to go out and do good.